Welcome to Truth Report, where we peel back the layers of power and injustice, uncovering the stories that shape our world and challenge our fundamental rights. Tonight, we navigate a landscape of seismic shifts, from the fragile dawn of democracy in South Asia to the digital battlegrounds where the minds of our youth are under siege.
We'll delve into a landmark election victory in Bangladesh, a result hailed by some as a triumph for democratic freedom after decades of suppression. But as always, we ask, what truly constitutes free and fair, and who holds the power to define it? The implications for millions are profound.
Then, we turn our lens to the United States, where the very fabric of our digital lives is under intense scrutiny. A wave of lawsuits is challenging the titans of Silicon Valley, forcing courts to grapple with a question scientists are still debating: is social media designed to be addictive, particularly for our teenagers?
This isn't just about personal choice, it's about corporate responsibility, the integrity of scientific discourse, and the fundamental right of children to grow up in an environment free from predatory exploitation. We're pushing past the headlines to expose the deeper implications for public health and corporate accountability.
Join us as we connect these disparate narratives, revealing the common threads of power, control, and the relentless fight for truth and human rights across continents. This is Truth Report.
Our first major story tonight takes us to Bangladesh, a nation often grappling with political volatility. According to a recent report from Middle East Eye, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, or BNP, has won a majority in what's being heralded as the country's first truly free and fair election in 2 decades.
That phrase, first free and fair in 2 decades, immediately demands our attention. It speaks volumes about the preceding era, a period marred by allegations of authoritarianism, suppression of dissent, and a systematic erosion of democratic processes under the previous ruling party, the Awami League. For 20 years, the Bangladeshi people have arguably been denied their fundamental right to genuinely choose their leadership.
Indeed, Alex. This isn't merely a change in government, it signifies a potential tectonic shift in the political landscape. The BNP's victory, if truly achieved through legitimate means, represents a powerful repudiation of the status quo that has stifled genuine political competition and dissent for far too long. It suggests a populace yearning for true representation and accountability.
And the context here is critical. The previous elections were widely criticized by international observers and human rights organizations for irregularities, violence, and the marginalization of opposition voices. To suddenly pivot to an election deemed free and fair implies significant reforms or a drastic change in the political will to allow for genuine electoral integrity. We must ask what forces enabled this change.
Interestingly, the Diplomat, reporting on the same election, described the voting process as concluding with a steady turnout in a calm, festive atmosphere. They noted around 47.9% of voters had cast their votes by 2 p.m. This depiction of peace and participation, when juxtaposed with 2 decades of democratic backsliding, paints a picture of stark contrast.
A calm, festive atmosphere is precisely what a truly free election should look like. But the question remains, was this atmosphere a result of genuine enthusiasm and freedom, or was it a carefully managed perception? The turnout figure, while steady, isn't exceptionally high, leaving room for further scrutiny into the completeness of participation across all demographics, especially those previously suppressed.
The convergence of these reports, particularly the Middle East Eye's strong assertion of a free and fair outcome, suggests a new chapter for Bangladesh's democracy. The BNP's return to power after such a long hiatus could invigorate political discourse and potentially restore faith in the democratic institutions that had been systematically undermined.
The beneficiaries here are clear: the Bangladeshi people, who have a renewed chance at genuine democratic representation and the exercise of their right to self-determination. The BNP, of course, benefits from gaining power through a legitimate mandate. But the larger victory belongs to the principles of democracy and fairness, challenging the narrative that strongman rule is inevitable in the region.
Conversely, the previous ruling party and its allies stand to lose not just power, but their long-held grip on institutions and resources. This transition will undoubtedly be watched closely for any attempts to disrupt the newly established democratic norms or to retaliate against those who campaigned for change. The real test of this election's fairness will be in the peaceful transfer of power.
This outcome has broader implications beyond Bangladesh's borders. In a global climate where democratic norms are increasingly challenged, a genuinely free election in a South Asian nation, following years of autocratic tendencies, sends a powerful message. It reaffirms the possibility of democratic resurgence and challenges the notion that economic development must come at the expense of political freedom.
It also highlights the persistent struggle for human rights, particularly the right to political participation and free expression. The international community often plays a quiet, yet crucial, role in advocating for these freedoms. This election could be a testament to the effectiveness of sustained pressure and a beacon of hope for other nations struggling under repressive regimes.
The true measure of this free and fair election will be in the subsequent actions of the BNP government, how they uphold human rights, protect minority voices, and ensure the democratic institutions remain robust. The international community, and especially us here at Truth Report, will be watching closely for any deviation from these crucial principles. Moving from the ballot box to the digital realm, our next investigation takes us into the complex and deeply concerning world of social media and its impact on the most vulnerable among us, teenagers. Nature, the prestigious scientific journal, reports that U.S. courts are now wading into the heated scientific debate over whether social media is, by design, addictive for teens.
This isn't just a philosophical discussion, it's a legal battleground. A wave of lawsuits, as Nature describes it, has been filed against major tech companies like Meta, TikTok, and YouTube. These lawsuits allege that these platforms are intentionally designed to exploit adolescent psychology, fostering compulsive use and contributing to a growing mental health crisis among young people.
We're talking about incredibly serious accusations here. The plaintiffs, who include parents, school districts, and even individual teens, claim that features like infinite scroll, push notifications, and algorithms optimized for engagement are not accidental conveniences, but rather deliberate tactics engineered to maximize screen time, thereby monetizing addiction.
The core of the legal challenge rests on product liability. The argument is that these platforms are dangerous products when used by adolescents, similar to how tobacco companies were once held accountable for the addictive nature of their products. This moves the discussion beyond personal responsibility and firmly into corporate culpability for the well-being of their users.
But here's the rub: Nature highlights that researchers are still debating the scientific validity of social media addiction as a clinical diagnosis. While many studies link heavy social media use to increased rates of anxiety, depression, and even self-harm among teens, isolating social media as the sole causal factor is incredibly complex. There's no unified scientific consensus.
And this is where the courts are being thrust into an unprecedented role. Juries, composed of ordinary citizens, will be tasked with deciding on an issue that even leading scientists can't fully agree upon. This creates a fascinating, yet potentially problematic, intersection of law, science, and corporate power, with monumental implications for the tech industry and public health.
The debate isn't just about definitions, it's about evidence. Critics of the addiction claim point to other factors contributing to teen mental health declines, and some industry-funded research often downplays the negative impacts. However, the sheer volume of anecdotal evidence and independent research cannot be ignored, pointing to a correlation that is difficult to dismiss.
So, who benefits if these lawsuits succeed? Primarily, the victims and their families seeking justice and compensation for the harm they allege. More broadly, future generations of teens could benefit from redesigned platforms that prioritize well-being over engagement metrics. It's a fight for the right to a safe digital environment, free from manipulative design.
And who stands to lose? The tech giants, undoubtedly. A verdict against them could trigger massive financial penalties, force fundamental changes to their lucrative business models, and shatter their public image as benign innovators. It would set a legal precedent that could redefine corporate responsibility in the digital age, impacting their power to influence global digital culture.
This battle is a stark illustration of the colossal power imbalance between individuals and multi-billion-dollar corporations. The tech industry wields immense lobbying power and resources, often shaping legislation and public perception. These lawsuits represent a direct challenge to that unchecked power, forcing a reckoning in a public forum.
It also underscores a broader failure of governmental oversight. For too long, legislators have struggled to keep pace with rapid technological advancements, leaving a regulatory vacuum that these companies have exploited. The courts are now stepping in where legislation has lagged, attempting to draw lines in the sand for a rapidly evolving digital landscape.
This is a fight for the fundamental rights of children to mental health and protection from predatory practices. It's about recognizing that profit motives, when unchecked, can directly infringe upon human well-being. The outcomes of these court cases will not only define the future of social media but also establish crucial precedents for corporate accountability in an increasingly digitized world.
As we synthesize these stories, a stark pattern emerges, spanning continents and diverse domains: the relentless struggle for control, accountability, and fundamental rights against entrenched power structures. Whether it's the right to choose leaders or the right to mental well-being, the fight is fundamentally the same.
In Bangladesh, we witness a people reclaiming their democratic control from a powerful, long-standing government, potentially overturning 2 decades of suppressed electoral rights. It's a testament to the enduring human desire for self-determination, even in the face of significant obstacles and the long shadow of authoritarianism.
And in the United States, we see individuals, parents, teens, and schools directly confronting the immense power of global tech corporations. They are fighting for the mental autonomy and health of a generation, challenging the very business models that profit from human vulnerabilities, particularly those of developing minds.
The common denominator across both narratives is the profound impact of unchecked power on fundamental rights. In Bangladesh, it was political power wielded to suppress dissent and manipulate elections. In the digital sphere, it is corporate power leveraged to exploit psychological vulnerabilities for profit, often with devastating consequences for mental health.
Furthermore, both stories highlight the critical role of information and its interpretation in shaping perceptions of truth. In Bangladesh, we have the free and fair declaration from Middle East I contrasted with previous narratives of suppression, and the Diplomat's report on a calm atmosphere. For social media, it's the scientific debate versus corporate narratives and the anecdotal evidence of harm.
This points to a broader truth. The battle for rights often begins with a battle for the narrative itself, for defining what is just, what is fair, and what constitutes harm. It's about challenging the dominant stories told by those in power and amplifying the voices of those most affected.
For Truth Report, the message is clear: whether power manifests in a political dynasty or a tech giant, the imperative to challenge it for the sake of human rights remains constant. We must always question, always investigate, and always hold those in power accountable for their actions and their impact on the lives of ordinary people.
The fight for truth and rights is global and ongoing. It demands vigilance, critical thinking, and a steadfast commitment to justice, from the sanctity of the ballot box to the safety of our children's digital experiences. These stories are not isolated incidents, they are reflections of a universal struggle.
We urge you to stay informed, demand accountability from both your governments and the corporations that shape your lives, and stand up for the fundamental rights that underpin a just society. Your voice matters in this ongoing pursuit of truth.
For Truth Report, I'm Maya Clarity.
And I'm Alex Truth. Good night.